Hello, my sister.
Hi, love.
And I have to say hello to you before I say hello to others because listen, we have been through a lot between season 1, here we are at season 2, and I'm so thankful for this time. It's been a journey, and I have anticipation for others to be able to hear what this journey has been like for you. More than anything, I know that they're going to learn from your testimony. So, number one, thank you for doing this. Thank you for the work you do behind the scenes and in front of the camera now. Like, this is sacred space, and it always has been in your care. So I just appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you for having me and trusting me. Thank you.
Absolutely. Y'all, welcome to another episode of Grief in the Raw. I am your host, Kelli Holloway, and I am joined by a special guest who is also my producer, Miss Bethany Anderson.
Hi.
Cheers, y'all.
Cheers.
Okay, so what are you
see my
drinking
special
on?
Mug, guys?
Yes, right? Okay, so mine says Kelli, host and creator. What does yours say, Bethany?
I'm going to turn that around here, and it says Bethany, producer.
Ow, I love it.
This is so beautiful. And it's so great because I collect mugs. So whenever I travel, I always get a mug for wherever I am. And this is such a beautiful, every time I wake up in the morning, I see it in my cabinet. I'm like, oh, yes. Like, it just reminds me of the work that we're doing. And it's an honor and a privilege.
I love it.
Cheers, my sister.
Cheers. We are here. And shout out to my friend Tracy, who actually does the calligraphy. So actually our names were handwritten by her. So we're going to share in the show notes how you can get up with her and get all of the personal touches to all your things. But Black owned, woman owned. She is amazing. So I want you to be able to connect with her. So yeah.
That's right.
So are you sipping coffee or tea? What are we doing today?
Oh, it's coffee. I need my daily dose of caffeine. Man, it's been a lot going on, and I feel like taking a moment to just enjoy a rich cup of coffee does so much to get my day going, or whatever I have going on. I'm like, first, you ever go like to Home Goods or Hobby Lobby and you see, but first coffee. I was never that girl until recently. I get it now.
Why did I just recently buy a shirt that's like, weekends, soccer, and coffee.
Listen, that is your life.
That is my life. I'm a soccer mom, but before I leave, I have to have the coffee, which is interesting because today this is tea. And I feel super fancy whenever I have tea. I feel like, look at me. Here's my tea.
So proper.
Yes. It is hibiscus mango pineapple infused. So, like, it's really good. I did some honey.
That sounds good.
Another thing that I do with my tea, a little bit of fresh ginger. So I'll chop the ginger up while I'm boiling the water. It is delicious. So,
look, I am a ginger girl all the way. I will literally just clean, chop up some ginger, boil it, and just drink that with honey. It does something so refreshing for my body. I'll have it in the morning and I'll have it before I go to bed. But yeah.
So we have something warm, and I hope that you, as you are listening or you're watching with us, you have something warm or good, or if it's tea, if it's coffee, if it's wine, like whatever you do. Not if you're driving though. But whatever you do.
Yes, we're not going to promote that.
Yes, no, we wouldn't dare. But yeah, it's grief. So whatever you're doing, we hope that you are comfortable as you listen in, tune into this very important conversation. So I'm going to introduce Bethany. Originally from Greensboro, North Carolina, Bethany brought her Southern hospitality and talents to Las Vegas to open the Hayes nightclub at Aria Resort and Casino. During her 15-year run in the competitive Las Vegas nightlife and day club industry, Bethany built relationships with many influential people in all realms of the entertainment industry. Getting her start in the media space and as an on-air NBA analyst for Fox Sports Radio in 2011, she used her radio experience becoming a podcast host, producer, editor, audio engineer, creative director, and content creator. Bethany enjoys working with other creatives and executives, forever a sponge in a room she's in. Bethany is passionate about creating safe spaces for talents, using her excellent communication skills to work with artists and industry professionals. Her strong organization skills and ability to handle schedules and seemingly stressful situations. Whoo, Lord, yes. Bethany has become a multitasking master of her craft. Welcome, my sister, Bethany.
Thank you.
Welcome.
It's so wild to hear bios, and just a little insight for our listeners.
Yeah.
I always have to push our guests to really like talk about yourself, like let the audience know who you are, because they'll just send like a very basic like, oh, this is where I'm from and this is what I do for work. Like, no, I need you to talk your stuff, please.
Yes,
please.
It's important.
Yeah,
we don't do that enough. So
yeah,
I love it. The people need to know
how
multifaceted you are. So let's start with the grief scale. Where are you on your grief scale today from 1 to 10?
I am at 10 being
very, very strong, very, very heavy and hard to hold. 1 is it's light, it's airy. I'm barely affected by the grief that I feel in my body today.
I would give it a 5.
Okay.
Like I'm right in between.
Okay.
I'm kind of teeter-tottering right there in this little sweet spot or whatever you want to call it of grief. Yeah.
The in between.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting at I can't believe I'm going to say it, but I'm at a 2 today.
Yes. I love that for you.
I'm at a 2. And I think some of the things that I have been doing lately, that's what brings me to a 2. Even though this week has been super busy, my husband has been out of work. No. Out.
Absolutely not.
That's a very different. Woo, Lord. No, that's not what I meant. He's been out of town for his work.
That's right.
Leaving me with the 4 and 7-year-old by myself. And we have just been going through, like, there have been a lot of wins, like a lot of professional wins, a lot of things that are going on in our world. But at the same time, I've been failing a lot too. Like, legit, one day going to daycare, I told the girls, okay, hurry up, gotta get in the car, gotta catch the bus, gotta get to daycare. We'll put your shoes on in the car. Just grab shoes that match. We'll get in the car. Got all the way to daycare. Ava had matching shoes, but these shoes were probably like 2 years too old. She just grabbed the first set of shoes. So my baby is sitting outside daycare, no shoes to put on. And for a second, I was like, maybe I can just, maybe she'll be all right. But I had to turn right. I know.
Yeah.
We listen and we don't judge, but
no judgment.
I turned right back around and I had to get through it. And she did what I said, because I was like, just get some matching shoes. We'll put them on in the car. And she's like, well, mommy, I got matching shoes.
She followed directions.
Where did you get these from? Like, she probably got them from this bin that is our what we give to Goodwill. Like, she just grabbed the shoes, right? So I was like, oh goodness. So I had to. They ended up being late because I had to go back and all that. So anyway, all of that, like, my nervous system needed to like calm down after that. But I'm happy that there have been some things that I have been interjecting into my daily rituals and schedules that have kind of helped me calm. One of which, swimming.
Yes.
I started swimming.
I love this for you.
So that has been great. And real quick lesson that I have learned about swimming so far, because I know how to swim. Like, I knew how to swim to not drown, right? Like, I can swim good enough. But I wanted to swim laps and like learn how to, like do my breathing right and get my, everything correct. So that has been really good to learn how to swim. But after my first day, she was like, oh, okay, let me see Kick. Let me see you, all this stuff. Another Black woman, like, shout out to her. She's amazing. And she said, it looks like you're like tensing up and you're really thinking hard about it. Like, just when you're in the water, just be in the water. Like nothing else matters when you're in the water. So like I said to her, I was like, okay, so what you're telling me is I can't both be anxious and swim. She was like, yep, got to choose one. Yes. So like I have really been trying to model not just that swimming experience with that, but just trying to live daily. Like I can't both be anxious and cipher through the grief. Like I've got to pick one. And so if I can be lighter with it, I think it's going to fold into all the other things. So I'm definitely in a different season right now than I have been in the past. Not to say that the gauge isn't, something could happen, the gauge go back up, tomorrow. But today I'm honoring where I am. So it feels good.
Take that too. Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So more about you and potentially why you're at the 5, but I'm going to ask my first question that I think will give folks a little bit more background as to why we're having this discussion here and now. So since we taped last season, or since we wrapped last season, that was November 2024, you have faced a life-shifting moment with your mom's health crisis. Can you share that journey with us?
Whew, yes. So we wrapped. The holidays came and went. My mom and I were really close. Talked to her at least every other day. And when we're on the phone for hours. And I remember it was a particular Monday that we were on the phone for like 2.5 hours. We had this really, really cool conversation. Just a really beautiful conversation. I remember hanging up the phone like, man, that's my girl right there. Like I was able to kind of like give her props on how she's raised me. It was a particular situation that a friend of mine was going through. And it wasn't that I couldn't relate to my friend. It was just that like, I felt like my mom gave me tools to navigate things. So I was able to advise my friend. And I was like, I don't know what you did within raising me, but you raised a very confident and self-assured person. Like, what people say about me doesn't bother me, and being able to tell her that and hear like her receive it and feel so proud, that was really nice. So when we got off the phone, I felt really good. I was also planning on flying her out here to Las Vegas where I live to come and spend some time with my son and I. And so I was like, yeah, I'll call you back tomorrow to run some flights by you to see, which day and time works for you. And so I called her the next day and she didn't answer. And so I was like, you know what? Maybe she's tired. She was recovering from a sinus infection. And, the medication that she was taking, I was like, maybe it makes her sleepy and she just needs some rest and she doesn't need to talk to me for 2.5 hours like we usually do. And the next morning after she didn't answer, I got a phone call from my aunt saying, hey, when's the last time you spoke to your mom? And I was like, I talked to her Monday. We were on the phone all night. And she was like, well, me and your mom, we talk multiple times a day, every day. And she's like, I haven't heard from her since Monday. And I was like, oh, okay. So I immediately called my mom, no answer. I text her, no response, which is very not like her. Now, 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago, in 2005, my mom suffered a brain aneurysm at the age of 38.
Oh my gosh.
And so when she was not answering the phone, I was like immediately like, hey, I need to, make sure she's okay.
Yeah.
Now my aunt was like, hey, if I don't hear back from her by a certain time, then I'm going to go and check on her. And I was like, okay. But it didn't sit right with me. So I called my mom's best friend. I'm like, hey, when's the last time you spoke with my mom? And she was like, why? Is everything okay? And so she was like, you know what? Say less. She dropped everything that she was doing and she went to my mom's place immediately. And she went to knock on my mom's door and my mom did not come to the door. And so I was on the phone with her as she was, knocking and calling her name. And I was like, hey, just call paramedics. It's time to,
intervene.
This is just very, this is abnormal. So I watched on FaceTime as paramedics bust down the door of my mom's place. and my heart was racing. I've never experienced anything like that before. To see paramedics like working on the doorknob, and I'm like, just kick it in. Like at this point, like please just
do what you have
just
to
get
do.
it done. Like and so they did. My heart is racing. I'm like holding the phone. My hands are shaking. My mom's friend, she can barely keep the phone still because of course her best friend, she's
and they're in North Carolina.
They're in North Carolina Vegas. And I'm in Vegas. And so they finally get in there. My heart's racing. And then I hear someone say, well, she's alive. We found her heartbeat. And I was like, okay. But then my mom's friend, her phone cuts off. And I'm like, oh God. So I call her, and then I called my aunt, and I was like, hey, let her know what had happened so she could make her way down there. And so by the time my aunt got there, they had already taken my mom, put her in the ambulance. My mom's best friend had a full-on anxiety and panic attack. So not only did my mom get rushed to the ER, so did her best friend.
My goodness.
And so, not knowing what was going on, I'm guessing, that she had another brain aneurysm or something happened. So at that point, I just started to plan to take the first flight to North Carolina to be there. And it was very, like, this is one thing, like, when it happened in 2005, I had just graduated from high school, and I was in Arizona. When my dad came into the room and told me that my mom had suffered an aneurysm, I had never heard of anyone surviving an aneurysm. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's so rare. The moment he said that, I was like, my mom died. In my head, I thought I lost her.
Right.
And so he was like, do you want me to book you a flight home? And I'm like, yeah, like, of course.
Yeah.
And so he booked me the first thing out smoking. And I had a layover in Minnesota. And the entire flight from Arizona to Minnesota, my mom is in emergency surgery. So I don't know what's happening. Right. And so every time that I fly, I look around the airport and I think about, like, I wonder why this person is traveling. Like, what's going on in their world? What's taking them to whatever city that they're going to? Like, whenever I see people in a bad mood or running through the airport or they're rushing, I try to get out of people's way.
Yeah,
because you don't know. You have no idea what's going on in their world. And I'm just on the flight the entire time, just crying. I know the person sitting beside me is like, is she okay? But I'm just like, I got my hoodie on. I'm just like, wiping tears. I get to Minnesota and I get a phone call like, all right, so your mom was just out of surgery, but she had a stroke during surgery. And I'm like, oh my God. And so I finally get home to Greensboro, go straight there and, to spend time with my mom. So fast forward to now, I'm traveling under the same circumstances, but it's different this time because now I'm a mom. Mm-hmm. Now I'm bringing my son with me, and I'm just trying to keep my composure and even explaining to him that, I had to go and pick him up from school so that we can come back, pack and get out of here. And explaining to him like, hey, Mimi is sick. She's in the hospital. She's having surgery. And just trying to explain to my 10-year-old that his grandmother might be dying, and also having to sit with that with myself. Like, I remember as I was packing, I'm like putting clothes in the suitcase and I have everything in my closet color coded and I get to the black section and I'm like, do I pack something
black
just in case?
Bethany, I didn't know this. I didn't know this part.
And I said, you know what? I'm not packing anything black.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm just going to pack things to be comfortable in the hospital. Yeah. The hospital's cold, icky. So hoodies, sweatpants, sneakers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Big thermal socks. Like I'm just wrapping up and I'm preparing myself to be present with my mom. Mm-hmm. Whatever condition she's in when I show up, I'm going to be ready. But I did not pack anything for a funeral. I said, nope, not doing it.
I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you.
So we get to North Carolina. My mom is bandaged up. She had to have emergency brain surgery. Before I left, I had to, let the staff know, like, hey, because I am her first contact, just to let you guys know, I'm traveling and this is a 5-hour flight.
Yeah.
So you're not going to be able to reach me for 5 hours. So here I am traveling again. My mom's in the middle of surgery. They called to get my consent to have to give her a certain surgery where they had to remove a piece of her skull to give her brain space to expand, because she did suffer another aneurysm. And so the doctor, he's like, I'm just going to let you know, your mom has a condition. I've never seen anything like this. The first time she had the aneurysm 20 years ago, they found 3 aneurysms. And if you don't know what an aneurysm is, it's like when a blood vessel in your brain leaks blood, or is about to. Yeah. And out of the 3 that they found 20 years ago, 1 burst and bled into her brain. The brain cannot take anything other than cerebral fluid.
Right.
So blood is just like, oh my gosh, it's a very devastating thing for the brain. And so this time the doctor was like, we found 6. This is very abnormal. Your mom has a condition where she develops aneurysms at a very alarming and abnormal rate. And so I advise you and your brother to go and get your brains checked, because this could be genetic. This could be hereditary. And I'm just like, oh my goodness.
So on top of hearing that traumatic diagnosis given to your mom, on top of that, it's like, but you might be next.
Right.
What?
And that's something that, so again, my mom had the first aneurysm at 38. This past December, I turned 38, which was a very important year for me, because I'm like, my mom, slim, she looks great. You would never think that there was anything brewing so devastating in her brain. So I was like, this is just a year that I make sure that I'm on top of my health.
Yes.
That, I'm checking my blood pressure. I'm eating right. I'm working out. I'm taking care of my body, my heart, my brain. Like I'm doing things to stay sharp,
Yes. Yeah.
And when the doctor told me that, it kind of felt like, hey, no matter what you're doing, this can still take you out. And it's like, it just really hit me in a way.
Yeah.
But I've always been very cognizant of my body. This is why I don't take medicine, because I don't want to mask the pain. If I have a headache, it's for a reason. My body is trying to tell me something.
Right.
And if it gets severe, I'm going to see about it as soon as I possibly can, because I don't want it to be a situation where I'm in the middle of an aneurysm or a stroke.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very understandable.
Yeah. So I get to the hospital. My mom has, they shaved her head, and she has tubes coming out of her brain. She has tubes coming out of her nose, mouth, arms, like everywhere. And I was just like, all right, my mom is still here.
Yeah.
It's time to pull out all the things that I need to pull out to help her heal and to be comfortable, because I've low-key been through this before, just not as severe, but I learned a lot that first go round. Yeah.
And after she recovered 20 years ago, did she have any long lasting situations that came from that, or was she relatively healthy, all that we know, and then this just surprised everyone?
So when my mom, she went in July 2005, and when I realized that she was going to be able to recover and all that stuff, I decided to go to school to North Carolina A&T in Greensboro, so I can be right there with my mom. And let's say 2 weeks after she was discharged from the hospital, she helped me move into my dorm. Into Holland Hall. Shout out to all the Aggies, Aggie Pride.
Hey, Aggie
Holland
Pride.
Hall. I was on the 3rd floor. We have no AC. And it's August and my mom is helping me. And I'm like, Mom, please leave that there. Like there's so many boys outside that want to help us. But she's like, I get to move I think she felt a new lease on life. Like, I'm going to help my daughter move into her dorm. Like, this is a privilege. Yeah. So she didn't have any disabilities. She did try to return back to work, and she passed out. And so the doctor was like, hey, let's just go ahead and retire. So my mom retired at 38. Yeah. But, no speech issues, no disabilities. She just took things a little bit slower. Yeah. And honestly, I kind of like that for her.
Yes. Because my mom, I was thinking it. I'm glad you said it. Yeah.
Such a strong woman, raised me as a single mom. And I feel like she deserved to not have to work. Like, here, take a break. You've had, I won't say a tumultuous life, but like you deserve rest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So when you get there, you get all this information from the doctor. What happens next?
It's wild because I'm talking to different surgeons and physicians and MDs and nurses and respiratory and all these different things. And I'm letting them know, like, we've been through this before. Mm-hmm. And they're just like telling me, well, this time, this is very severe. And they're trying to prepare me for the worst. Mm-hmm. They're trying to prepare me for a huge shift in quality of life if she makes it out of ICU.
Right.
And they were just like, would your mom want to be kept alive by machines? Because she's having different procedures and different, x-rays and angiograms and all these different procedures done. And at one point she had a pulmonary embolism in her lung. Mm. And I'm just like, it's not just the brain. Right. It's the other organs. Yes. Yes. Because the bleeding happened on the left side, it affects her right side. So very, very weak on her right side, which is her dominant side where she wrote and, all of that. And so I'm mentally preparing for her to be in a wheelchair, mm-hmm. which is fine. I'm like, whatever, whatever. But they were pretty much, I won't say Debbie Downers, but like, man, they were just very, it got to a point where I dreaded them coming into the room to talk to me because they would come in at like 3 at a time and everyone's holding their little clipboards and they're just looking at me with, so much pity and sorrow. And I'm looking at them like, y'all don't know my mama. Right. Y'all don't know me. Right. So you can say whatever you want.
And because faith.
And my faith and my God and what he does and how he's really kept my mother. He's really kept his hand on my mother this entire time. Yeah. Even in the hospital as we're going through this. And I'm seeing progress, when she opens her eyes. And I'm like, okay, her eyes are open. Because you guys are telling me that she just any day now. It was a lot in the first week because it was just very chaotic, letting family know and everyone's calling me and I have a son who I had to pull out of school. Yes. And we get to the hospital and I guess because at that time it was like a new flu strain that they made an age adjustment. So you had to be 13 to be able to even be in the hospital, let alone the waiting room, ICU, or, anything like that. They were like, we only let children in if they're coming in to like say their goodbyes. And I'm like, man, but thankfully I had a village who was like, hey, I'll pick Prince up. He can come hang out with me. And so I slept in ICU. I had the blankets and I'm wrapped up in my hoodies and everything. And I'm sleeping right there beside my mom. And it got to a point where Kelli, I broke out in hives all over my body.
Oh my gosh.
People don't talk about the way stress, the signs that your body gives when you're just going through it.
Yeah.
Like I expected my skin to break out, but not my like
Hives
all over my
everywhere.
body. Like it was on my hand. I'm like itching. I'm like, these little bumps, like, is this measles? Like what am I going through right now? But yeah, it was just a lot of talking to nurses and letting them know, like, yes, we've been through this before and I understand that this is severe, but I want to do whatever it takes to help my mom get better and heal. It was so much being thrown at me. So, I had a notebook every time we have a conversation, whatever terms and acronyms they're throwing at me. And what does that mean?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
So I can do my
That
Googles
part.
and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay. And, but even with me, being very diligent and taking notes, they still had there was just no optimism in my mom's recovery. But from the very beginning, I was like, no, there's a recovery to be had. And yeah, it starts now. I'm a very patient person. Yeah. And we're going to get through it. We're going to be all right. Whatever it looks like these next few weeks, or I didn't know, like, before my mom was in the hospital for maybe 3.5 weeks. And this time I was like, she could probably be in here for months. Who knows? But I was ready. Yeah. I was ready to boots to the ground. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And she's where now? So she's out of the ICU.
Yeah. So, as we record today, because this all happened in February, as we're gearing up.
We haven't even got there yet. We'll get there, but we need space. We need space to take your time with the journey first, because that's paramount. And when that happened, it was like, girl, F this show. Like,
yeah, it really was that. And I really appreciate you like giving me that space to like, hey, take care of what you need to take care of. Yeah. But it went from my mom being in ICU, and she spent 40 days in ICU. And as she slowly came to, I started to realize, like, okay, things like life is completely different. Like I immediately began to grieve losing a part of my mom. Yeah. She's nonverbal, not able to speak. I'm not sure if she knows me. Whenever I would walk into the room, she's kind of like just, looking at me like I'm just a nurse coming in to check on her. Because she had so many tubes coming down her nose and throat, her tongue had swollen so much that it was sticking out of her mouth. So the visual, I'm just like, man, this is crazy. Yeah. But the nurses, their priority is keeping my mom alive and making sure, because the physician was like, ICU is to put out fires. So we're making sure everything is okay. Yeah. So the things like her tongue hanging out of her mouth, they don't care about that. Right. She's breathing. Everything else is okay. So when I would come in there, I'm playing music for her. I had a playlist, like a healing playlist that I would just put on loop and on repeat, songs that she likes. It wasn't things that I thought that she would enjoy listening to. I'm like, no, her. The brain is a very complex thing, and music is tied to memory. And so when they're saying that because the bleeding happened on the left side, it's going to affect her comprehension and language and speech and all these things. So I was like, okay, I'm talking to her. I'm playing music. When she opened her eyes, I'm playing music videos, and I'm noticing that she's watching. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, healing is happening. Yeah. But I would my maternal instincts kicked in. Yeah. It's like she became my baby. Yeah. So I was just like, you know what? I need to make sure that all 5 senses of hers are stimulated. So of course, I'm giving her massages, making sure, I'm massaging her legs and her feet and her arms and her shoulders as much as I can with her in bed and hooked up to everything. But I'm playing music. I'm giving her things to look at. I'm speaking to her. So those four senses were covered. But I was like, taste. Coconut oil popped up into my head. And so when her tongue was sticking out, I put a little coconut oil on her mouth because it has some antibacterial properties that can help with inflammation and all these things.
Yeah.
When they told me it would take a month or so for the swelling of her tongue to go down, it took me 4 days. Yeah, the ICU turned into my care. You know what I mean? It turned into, it was my office.
Yeah.
Like, for those who have an iPhone, whenever you're traveling somewhere often, it'll say like, you must be going to work, or you must be going to school, or you must, they try to predict like, you're going to this place during these hours.
Yeah.
This is where you must be going. So my phone, every time I would get in and I put in the address to go to the hospital, it would say that I'm going to work. And I was like, you know what? Yeah.
I am. Mm-hmm. It became a full-time job.
But I turned into a caregiver. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that you are sharing this experience. One, because it exhibits your strength and your resilience, and just the strategy and the know-how to even do the things of the five senses. And I remember when you were telling me about that, I'm like, my goodness, for people to hear that, anyone that's going through something similar, to be a caregiver and to have a loved one that, is suffering from something as serious as an aneurysm or dementia or anything, for them to know, like, yes, take stock of what the doctors say, and they own the facility and the things, but they don't own the agency of your loved one. And so you are an active participant. Your loved one deserves that. You deserve that, to be an active participant in their care. And so when you told me 40 days in the ICU, most people are not in the ICU that long because they die before that. And so I knew 1000% it was because of you showing up at work and doing your work on your mom. And I'm so glad that people hear that and get that. And we don't even know who it's going to bless, right? Like, we don't know who's going to hear this, and months later, years later, what have you, it's going to happen, and they say, Bethany said 5 senses, let me get to work.
Yeah. I spent so much physical energy pouring into my mom that when I left, it was like I worked a shift. Yeah. You hear me? I worked. But, it really made me tap into the maternal side of me, where, I remember, like, when I had my son, and skin to skin was very important. And I'm like, she's laying in this bed, people are just coming, poking and prodding. Let me just touch her. Like, touch is healing. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's very important. I spent a lot of time
holding my mom's hand. Like, just like, and when you walk in, because my mom spent time in the ICU before, she passed. But when you walk in and you see them that way, to me, the first thing I thought was incubator. Like, she's in an incubator. Like, even the wall, like, it's all glass, and it's different than the regular hospital, and it's, surrounded by glass so that they can see at a moment's notice. They can look in and see. They don't have to go into the room to see what's going on. They can see from the hall if something is going left or what have you. Right. And so I just kept saying, God, keep her, protect her. Whatever you're doing on the inside, I can't see that. I can't penetrate that, but protect her, and I know that he did. I know that was her ushering home. He was preparing her for her ultimate home. But that time of just, you realize life is so precious, and at a moment's notice, any one of us could be in that situation. Either beside the bed or in the bed. And so it shifts your perspective on life. For sure.
You start to have these different conversations with yourself about mortality. Yeah. And your own life. And, with me being a mom, I'm like, if something happens to me, am I prepared? Like, will people know what to do when something happens? And also, I was grieving the fact that I had so much responsibility all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the one that they're calling for all of these major, major decisions. I had to be the person to say, if something happens, no, there's no DNR.
Right.
Do not resuscitate.
And
Do
there's
whatever
so many
you
things
can
that you
to
have to
keep her.
decide. So many things you have to decide back to back to back to back, and it's this
Yeah.
and this and this. Like after you put out this fire, and then it's the other thing. I remember it was like 3:00 in the morning, when they called me and said, "Okay, so we need to at this point make a decision of, putting her on the machine or not. Did she have a DNR? And it's like 3:00 in the morning. What? I
Yes.
can't wrap and I'm like stuttering, and I'm like, trying to like
Yeah.
figure it out. And I said, well, yes, like, and they were like, we need to do what we need to do to try to save her. I said, yes, save her. I don't have time to process that. And it's just,
Right.
it feels unfair that is the situation. But like you were saying with mortality, it's no longer something that's off in the distance. It is right in front of your face.
Yes.
Saying you need to make a decision. And it's so hard. And I think our brain, I know we're discussing the brain in terms of injury, but something with the trauma in our brain, it like pushes everything else to the side so that you can be laser focused.
Yes.
Like everything else just kind of like, it just like kind of makes room. And that's so wild to me. So I know that we can talk for hours and we have, and we will. But we talked about how we were preparing for season 2 at that time. And I remember vividly before you told me about your mom. And by the way, what's your mom's name? Please, I know it, but please share it.
Her name is Camellia.
Camellia,
and her nieces and nephews and grandkids call her Mimi. And those who love her also, may not even be related. They call her Mimi as well. So, Camellia.
Before you shared about Miss Camilla, you were telling me, or we were talking, because we had just recorded like 2 episodes at that point. We hadn't released them, but we had recorded them, preparing for the launch, which we were going to do, I think, like in March. And I think the last thing I said before we got off the call, and you were like, like how was that? How'd you feel? And I said to you, man, I feel lighter, but also heavy, because I think I said something like, to be talking about grief and sharing about grief, but also in grief at the same time is crazy work. And you were like, and then we got a call, we said our goodbyes and everything. And so as soon as I learned about your mom, I'm thinking we had just said that. We had just said to talk about it and to do it at the same time. That's a really, really heavy lift. And I remember you texting, you like, hey, and first of all, I don't even know why you texted me about the show then, but you texted me, you're just like, hey, I know we just recorded those episodes, but I don't know if we can release them because I don't even know who I am right now. And girl, I almost threw my phone, because I'm like, to be thinking of the show at this time, like this is the least of the word, because this is the show, this is the experience, we're talking about grief. So all of that was like coming up to the surface. But I have had this question on my mind to ask you for a while, in terms of, because to me it almost felt like the opposite of serendipitous, right? Like the fact that God allowed you to use your gifts and talents to lift a show on grief, being that you weren't in grief at the time, right? But you were grief adjacent to others that had been, touched by grief in a way. And so then when I reached out to you and had this crazy idea about doing a show, and you're like, yeah, I've got capacity, I can do that. And so you've been listening to all of the episodes and all those, and then editing them. So I was wondering, like, did the podcast, was it a buffer or a magnifier of what you had been going through? Like I was prayerful that it didn't sharpen your grief to have been dealings in grief and then having it pounced upon you, if that makes sense. So I'd love to go there and know more about just that experience. Yeah.
It was a guide. Being able to have the privilege to sit in on these conversations and to listen to them multiple times before releasing them to the public, I would get something different with every listen.
Yeah.
And when I was in North Carolina, I ran a few of those episodes back, especially the episode that we had with my best friend, Gabrielle Phillip, when she was talking about anticipatory grief.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it was like, now I may have to prepare for losing my mom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like some people don't get the opportunity to prepare for losing their parent.
That's real.
Sometimes it's like a sudden thing, and it's like, what, mom or dad or brother, whoever that they lose. But just hearing so many people, even we did the episode about caregiving.
Mm-hmm.
What was
that was number one? April Franklin. Shout out to April.
Shout out to April.
Yes.
And she was just talking about like, and you too, talking about the importance of taking care of yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
And so as I'm going through this with my mom, I made sure that I tapped in with myself.
Yeah.
If I needed to cry, I'm going to cry. I'm going to bawl, boo-hoo, get it out. Like my son is, I'm in the shower just crying my eyes out, and I get that release and I feel better. Or I'm back home in North Carolina where a lot of my friends are. Kids are having birthday parties and all these different celebrations. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go. Yeah. So my mom was in the hospital for maybe 4 days, and my friend had a skate party for her son. And I'm like, we're pulling up. Like, we're going to do it.
Yeah.
But I feel like if I had not heard, like, hey, you have to take care of yourself in the midst of all of this, because you're not going to be able to show up if you don't tap in and make sure that you're good. I made sure I was good. Music was very big for me because it was such a drive. It's like a 50-minute to an hour drive from where I was staying to where my mom was in the hospital in Charlotte. So the whole way I'm listening to like Kendrick Lamar, and I'm listening to gospel, like my gospel playlist just went crazy. I loved it. And like, I'm in the car just grateful that I was able to drop everything and be here for my mom.
Yeah.
And that so many people, my tribe, really like poured into me. I would say hyper independent. So when
you don't like say,
let me know what you need. Just let me know what you need. And I'm like, I don't know what I need. Right. I just want to be beside my mom. But people are like, I'm looking at my phone, I get a notification, such and such cash apped you $150, and here's $10 for coffee. Here's what, and I'm just like, oh, okay. Like, it was such an overwhelming, but in a good way. I was just like, man, my people really love me.
I love
and
it.
They really love my mom. And
blessed
the way
to be a
that
part of your
everyone
village
poured into me was incredible. But I always refer back to the conversations that I was privy to with this show. And I'm like, this grief is heavy, and it's going to be heavy. I think about, going through this as a Black woman and how I'm expected to just stay, people are like, stay strong. And I'm like, no, actually, I'm going to give myself space to fall apart.
Right.
Yes.
And I think that was one of our discussions, like when we had a chance to talk, like, because we were texting and everything, and I didn't want to, call you super early or call you super late or anything. But I think when we finally had a chance to talk, I think that's what I said. I said, I want you to have the space to just like be and just let it out. And you were saying like you felt like it was almost like in there because of all of the other administrative things that you had to do to keep the care running around your mom and all of those things that you had to administer, like all of that. And I was like, you got to get to a place to just be. So like you're saying, as a mom, you being a mom now and going through this situation, my maternal, and I was like, okay, we need some activities for Prince, because Prince has got to be somewhere during the day. And so I was like, all right. And I'm in Houston now. That I was like, all right, who do I know in the Charlotte area that like, okay, we need a day camp. All right. And he He loves STEM. He loves music. What he loves basketball. Like, what can we do? What, you know? And so it's like those things just like kick in. And I'm so grateful, one, that you allowed us to help you find and get that done. Because there's so many people that are like, no, we're good. He's going to be right beside me. And it's like, no. He's having his process as well. He needs to be a kid as well. And you know that and you get that. So you're just like, yes, please. He'll love to do that and hang out with some kids and socialize for a few hours. And so I'm glad that we were able to, in just a small way, be a part of the village for you. And I'm so glad that other members of your village, it's like, when everybody, it's like chess almost, or checkers or whatever, but like everybody plays a part in it.
Yeah.
And
huge.
the way that it just works and orchestrated by God, we know all things work together for the good, right? Romans 8:28. And so I'm so glad that you had that covering during that time, and you continue to have that covering. And that's honestly one of the reasons why we do this show, to bridge the gap between those that are grief adjacent and those that grieve. Yes. And I remember talking to a friend who is a therapist, and I was kind of telling her, this was in the in-between, where honestly, when you told me about your mom and everything was happening, I was like, I don't know that we'll do the show again, because I didn't know if you would be emotionally available or wanting, but also just the availability of now being a caregiver. Yeah. I didn't know that you would even have the time or the desire to be deep in grief. I didn't either. So we left it, I'm not going to say hanging. It wasn't hanging. We left it complete because we had completed it. And I'm like, okay, Lord, in this season of my life, I'm being obedient. So if you tell me now is the time to set it down, it went well, it touched lives, it did what I told you to do, and you're done with that, turn the page. If he was telling us to turn the page so that you could resource in other ways, I was working myself to be okay with that, because I'm your sister, and I'm never going to sit here and be like, but we got a show to get back to. No, not when the rest of the world is going to expect work from you, right? And so I was in a place of, okay, we may not do it again, and that's okay. And I remember this friend, said to me, she was like, I feel on the contrary, this is going to add so much depth to your show if you decide to do it again, because now Bethany is going to be able to say, I walked beside those that were grieving, and now people walk beside me as I'm in grief, and I get to be that bridge for people that don't know. And I was like, that is why we started doing it in the very first place.
Yes.
So that was just like an aha moment for me. Yeah.
I never thought that we wouldn't resume.
Ooh, okay.
If my mom passed away, I was going to take my time to grieve and my bereavement and everything. Yeah. But I feel like this is very important work. Like what I experienced in the recording of season 1, like I think I told you before, like it was sometimes very heavy. Yeah. To have to re-listen to these conversations, but it was so necessary. Yeah. Like it almost like drilled home. Like every episode had a message that I needed to apply to what I was going through at that time.
And let me share this for those that don't know. No one listens to the show more than Bethany, right? So let me
that's true.
Let me put that out there for those that haven't and I get chills because I'm like, the way that God moves, nobody listens to the show more than you, because you're on with every guest. She's a part of the recording. So even though when you see the show or you hear the show, you don't see or hear Bethany, she's there though. She's in the background, right? She's there for every show, giving us cues and all that kind of thing. Then after it processes, she looks at it then. She's a part of she does the editing.
I edit the audio.
She edits the audio
and
so it's again and again, and then it's the clips and the reels that are fire. And thank you. And then she sits through the production of the upload. So the upload to audio, the upload to YouTube. And for those of us that, podcast, we get it, but it's a long process per episode. A lot of hours listening to the same thing over and over and over again. So if there was ever a primer, this was a primer.
It was.
And you listen to the episodes the most. I'm just sitting here like, Lord, that just came upon me. Ooh, God is just,
listen,
the way that he provides he said, I'm going to put this show in y'all's life. Will you be obedient? Will you take a chance on what I'm telling you to do? Because there's going to come a time that you yourself needs it. Woo!
Yeah. But even when you came to me with this whole idea, first of all, it was an immediate yes, because, you know, being a podcast producer, I have so many people that come to me with like, oh, I have this idea for a show. And it's like, we have a million of those already. We're talking about sports. We're talking about current events and, you know, gossip and celebrity stuff. And I'm like, okay. You know, because I've gotten to a point. Yeah, I've gotten to a point where I'm not just going to take a job just because it pays.
That's right.
I want to do something that is meaningful, that I actually enjoy listening to the conversations, and that I feel like so many people would benefit from the information on this show. Like, there's a sports betting podcast that I was producing. I'm like, this is really cool. This is not something that you hear. Like, this is information that people can use. But I was like, man, grief. Like, the first season really shaped me. It gave me a different perspective on grief, period. Like, all of a sudden, I'm like, wait, grief isn't just losing somebody. It's not just death. Grief is all around us, and it really shapes how people show up in their lives. Like, I go back to being in the airport and seeing all these people traveling, and you just like, you don't know what they're carrying around.
Right.
When even outside the airport in everyday life, if someone is rude to me, I'm like, they must be having a bad day. Like, something devastating. I don't take it personally. This show has taught me that we're all grieving. We all grieve differently. And the grief makes us show up in a way that it's just so unpredictable. So I just know, like, if someone is treating me a certain kind of way, it's something that they're grieving. And it has nothing really to do with me.
You know that church sway when you're in the pew and you hear a good word. That's a word, my sister.
Like, so everyone is carrying something around.
It's grief.
Grief,
and you can recognize it. You can recognize it now because of that guide and the lived experience. And the opportunity for those that have not lived through the experience to gain some education, to use it when they need it, right? And that's I think, you know, that's the trainer in me, in my spirit, that like, if I know a thing, you know a thing. Because I'm not gonna say master it, but I'm going to use the tools at my disposal to make sure that you know it or get it just like and have the opportunity to elevate your own understanding of it. So,
Kelli, you're like KI, not AI, but like KI. It's like you gather all the information and you share it in a way that's palatable to people.
I love that.
Like, you're really, really, like, I want the audience to know, like, I've worked with so many different hosts and guests and all these things. Kelli, you are a natural at this. It makes my job so much easier to have someone who cares about what they're doing. You're very passionate about this, of course, because, you know, you've had your own, you know, unique grief journey, but you didn't just, you know, go within. You decided to share. Yeah. That's one thing that I feel like as human beings, we have to educate each other and have conversations, the hard conversations, conversations that's going to make you have snot running down your nose, out, you know, down to your chin, you're wiping tears. But we need that, you know. It's a human. Grief is a human experience. Period.
It is. Oh yeah. Okay, I'm gonna let's share our social media call out, and I'm gonna play the clip. I want to know what your thoughts are. And this comes from the one and only Sarah Jakes Roberts, and it's on Instagram. We'll link to the sermon.
Hey, the links will be in the description, guys.
The links will be, and this is another part. This is another example of her rewatching it so that she can remember the things that are to link. Okay, all right.
Not everything that dies must stay dead. And if you believe that everything that dies must stay dead, you will miss out on the reality that there is some moments where grief is just the journey you take before you land on the destination of resurrection. Sometimes grief is the birth canal that allows for the resurrection power of Jesus to show up in your life. And I want you to know that resurrection power may not always bring a person back to life, but that resurrection power can bring your purpose back to life. That resurrection power can bring your hope back to life. That resurrection power can bring your vision back to life. I don't know what you're grieving and what you've lost in 2024. Maybe it was a person, maybe it was an idea, maybe it was a dream, maybe it was something in your body, and you've been thinking to yourself, that thing that died in me will forever stay dead. I hear God saying that not all grief ends in death. Some grief is an opportunity for rebirthing to emerge.
What comes up for you when you hear that?
There was a rebirth that happened within all of this chaos. After, I got to North Carolina, I'm spending time in ICU. I decided to pull up to my mom's church.
Praise God.
And brought my son and just really tapped back in. I'm not going to say that I didn't have a relationship with God, but it just gave me a different purpose. Because in my head, I'm like, I'm trying to prepare my mom for an amazing testimony to share to the world.
Yes.
This show has a lot of storytelling elements, and it kind of made me like, I got the creative bug again. Like, people need to hear what's going on, even though I don't know what next week is going to bring.
Right.
Every week that I would go to church, and everyone's like, how's Miss Camellia doing? And I may not have the greatest update, but I am letting them know, like, hey, this requires a lot of patience.
Yeah. And
you can't worry and also trust God. You have to choose one.
I'm on the verge of tears already. But say it again. Say it again.
Which one are you going to choose? Are you going to trust God to do what he does? Or are you going to worry about every little thing? Which one are you going to do? Which one are you going to pick? Are you going to drive yourself crazy? Or are you going to let God do what he does? And people be like, Bethany, you're just so strong. And I'm like, it's not that I'm strong.
No. In our weakness, his strength is made perfect.
Boom.
That's what people aren't getting. I'm not choosing to be strong. I don't want to be strong. I don't want to be here. But he's filling in the gap. When we fall apart, when we are weak, that's when he comes through.
Yeah. Oh. It got to a point where every day that I would get in the car to go visit my mom, I would pull from my Aunt Mary. What she would do, she would stop before she cranks up the car. She would pray for traveler's mercies. And whenever I got to my destination, I would thank God. So it was like just being very thankful for everything. And it felt like going to church, bringing my son to church, us having this experience in community and the support. It was so beautiful. And I was like, this is what I've been missing. All this time, community in the Lord and going to church. And even if I'm in tears as I'm standing up and giving the congregation an update on how my mom is doing, I felt safe in all of it. There was so much safety in all of this.
I love it. I love that. I remember in Mom's last breath, I said in my petition to God, because I knew it was happening, I said, I am going to use this as a means to get closer to you, not let it divide me from you.
Right.
Because I had to make up my mind that I wasn't going to let the anger take over.
Ooh. See,
not
Kelli,
to not
you
have
said
it.
something important there.
Yeah.
You said the anger.
Yeah.
Because at one point, I was so mad. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Why? Like, why my mom?
Right.
Why does she have to experience this pain?
Yeah.
Like, the last conversation that we had, I was telling her about a mutual friend of ours. Shout out to Scott.
Yeah.
His fiance had a very similar situation. And I was telling my mom about it. I was like, yeah, she had to have this procedure done. And I remember my mom taking her to an appointment where she had the same thing. And she was like, oh, I wish I never want to have that again. It's called an angiogram. They go in the vein in your thigh. It goes all the way up to your brain to see like what's going on. And you're awake during that procedure. And she was like, oh, I don't want to have to experience that again. And I was so mad when the physicians come in. Hey, we're going to take your mom downstairs so we can give her this procedure called an angiogram. And I'm like, she literally just said that she didn't want this.
That. Yeah.
But we have to do what we have to do.
Yeah.
But I had to think about like, man, like I had to feel that anger. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, no.
That's a piece that people just like, the whole grieving process is like, you're going to be pissed.
Very angry. and notice that I didn't say not have it. Like I had to choose to not let the anger divide me because I was angry. I stayed in that anger. I didn't let it fester, but I had the emotion. I'm angry that my mom is passing at 65. That's not supposed to happen. Right? And so the anger that I felt, the anger that you felt, it's valid. So have it. Right?
Yeah.
The message or what I received in it was my petition to God. We have to speak specifically to him. We say specifically the prayer, what we want. Lord, don't let it, I won't let it divide me from you. I need you now more than I've ever needed you in my life. And I'm not going to do anything to divide myself from you. I'm not going to turn to vices. I'm not going to turn to not coming to you, to saying I'm angry at God. And no, I'm angry. And God is big enough that he can take all of our emotions, every single emotion under the sun. God can take it. So I yelled, screamed, angry.
He gave it to us to experience.
He gave it to us to experience the full experience. But just like every emotion under the sun, grief is there under the surface. It's there. And as a human, we have that experience. To be human is to grieve. And so we all will have that moment of that crossroads. Am I going to let the grief harden me, or am I going to let it soften me in the presence of God?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
I ain't gonna be before you long, as Pastor say. I know we gotta wrap it up. Okay. Where do we want to go? Because there's we can't do everything. We can't do everything. We might have to have a round 2, but I want to talk about real quick the role of the village or lack thereof. If there are any holes in the village or things that like you didn't know that would pop up that popped up, but how has that current cloud of grief shifted the forecast of relationships?
You know what? First of all, when I let my group chat know, like, hey, this is what's about to happen. Like, I'm going to North Carolina for X, Y. My mom's in the hospital and all these things. And my friends really like came together. There was another friend group who, before I could even say that I was about to fly, my friends were already looking up flights for me and Prince. I did not have to pay for my plane tickets. I had friends give me money for hotel. Like, hey, I booked you a hotel. This is like 2 blocks from the hospital where your mom's at. You can stay here. Like, I was just like overwhelmed. What you and Mike did for Prince, every day that I took him and dropped him off, and I walked out to go to the hospital. I was just like, man, I feel so privileged to have the friends that I have, that they care not just about what I'm going through and what my mom is experiencing, but like to make sure that my kid is good. Like when I would go pick him up, he would like tell me how much of a great time he had, and the counselor's like, man, Prince is so cool, and they're like giving him high fives, and they're playing Connect Four, and like they're just having these different activities, and he was so happy. And so it was such a, like, I'm coming from this hospital and picking up my happy child.
And that makes such a difference.
Oh my goodness.
Such a difference. I love that. And that's why I'll never say again, I've taken out of my vocabulary, I can imagine that. I can imagine how that feels.
Right. Yeah,
because I absolutely can. And I think for those that are supporting those who grieve, imagine it and sit with it long enough to help that person or gift that person or bless that person in a way that perhaps you feel like you would need in that moment. If you sit in it long enough, you could imagine it, and you can imagine what might help you, and then the person take it or don't. And I know that everybody has different love languages and different ways of communicating love, but in this example, if something like that happened to me, or Lord forbid my in-laws, my first thought, what am I doing with my kids? Where are my kids gonna go? And so I said, we need somewhere for Prince, right? And so I think it can be that, you know, it can be convoluted as well, but it can be that simple of, don't let the first knee-jerk reaction be, I can't imagine. Because
Right.
you can. You can't imagine your world falling apart.
And also with my tribe pulling up for me the way that they did, so did my mom's friends.
I love that.
She's very close to her classmates.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I'm on the phone having conversations and just updating them on how she's doing, and they're calling me and just, you know, checking in on me and giving me a place to vent and, you know, express my anger and frustrations and my sadness. And they listened to my cries and they prayed and they just really poured into me. And that was just so beautiful. I'm like, my mom has a tribe that in all of this, even though they may be in different parts of the country or whatever, like even my mom's best friend who went to go check on my mom.
Oh, shout out to her. Such a
She's
blessing.
doing much better now.
Yes, thank
She's doing
God.
much better now. And it was just so beautiful that she had her girls show up for her the way that she did. I love that so much. I'm like, this is really dope. It's not just like family, you know, coming to make sure that my mom is good. It was her friends too, her tribe, that really helped me. They lifted me and my brother. Yeah.
I love it.
Beautiful.
I love it.
And I will say, I am disappointed in some family members for their behavior or lack of action in all of this. But I understand that grief, again, everybody grieves differently. And they're, you know, it causes them to show up in different ways. And so, again, I don't take it personally. I'm like, they probably just can't take, you know, seeing my mom like this. So I don't take it personally if I don't get a text or someone checking in on me. I'm like, you know what? Everyone is dealing with this in their own way. And so I really don't try to really think too much about the inaction of certain people that I thought would be there.
That is such a mature statement that I think so many people get tangled up in the drama and I want them to think like I think or feel how I feel, or even I want them to show up and I want them to, you know, I want them to not, you know, typecast me or throw drama or throw shade, like this is not the time. And people get tangled up in that's a temporary distraction. You ain't got time to be distracted.
I've heard rumors, and again, this goes back to the last conversation that I had just had with my mom, where I'm like, what people say about me, it doesn't affect me. It really rolls off, because if they
like
really
seal,
knew who
baby.
I was as a, okay. If they really knew me for real as a person, they wouldn't say certain things about me. Like, my main priority is caring for my mom, So whatever you guys are saying behind my back or whatever,
That's
who
good,
cares?
Bethany.
All I
That's
care about is
good.
the health of my mom. So
You know,
say what you
I had
want.
to learn that. I had to come to that. It was very. I mean, you know, it was hard for me for some of the
Yeah.
hurtful things that were just being thrown, even a year after my
Yes.
mom passed, and sometimes like that's you know. But I came to this understanding as in talking to you and others about it, and also just, you know, getting to a space, and I think it might have been Alex L. who said something very eloquent on social. She said, I only have room in my life for people who are sure about me. And that thing blessed me. Because if you don't know that Kelli Holloway has the best intentions, did everything that she could for her mother, does everything she can for her kids and the people that she loves, and all of those things. If you don't know that for sure, miss me.
Yeah, it's yeah. And
That's
one
okay.
thing about me, Kelly, I set hard and firm boundaries. The moment
love it.
someone says something that just rubs me the wrong way,
Scoot,
I'm
scoot.
cool. I'm good. Yeah, like
What's that they do? Okay.
Yeah. You hear that microphone? Here we go. Yes,
Oh gosh.
like it's okay.
I am
Yeah.
learning
You're not
so
gonna
much
be a
from your
part of this
wisdom.
journey.
Yeah, yes. Like this is where we get off.
Yeah,
And that's okay. That's
The
okay.
train stops here.
There's no ill feeling, because I find that if I were to harvest those things, those are not the fruits that God wants me to bear. You know,
That's
He
it.
what are the fruits of the Spirit, right? There's goodness, there's patience, there's love, there's 7 or 8, and we gotta link them.
Meekness, I believe, is
Yes,
one of those.
yes.
Yeah.
But none of those are anger. He doesn't want to bear that fruit
No.
and pettiness. So like I got to get out of that garden. I have to find one that means me well. And boy, have I found it. You know, this is this new season of the show, right? But also this new season of life. I get to pick the seeds I plant. And
sure
they
do.
are beautiful. The people in my life, the way that they love on me.
You know, you actually have more control than you believe. Like if someone isn't showing up for you the way, it's okay. Just, you don't have to deal with that.
And it's going to be okay.
You're
You
gonna
are
be
going to
fine.
hear us well, y'all. You are going to be okay. Whew. Rapid fire.
Ooh.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. The first question: what has finding pockets of joy looked like for you in this season?
Oh my goodness. Oh man, hanging out with my son.
He's a cool little dude.
Man, he is I like him as a person.
That's
You know what I mean?
good.
Like, of
That's good.
course I love him, but I like him too.
Yes.
Some of
That's
the
important.
conversations that we've been having, you know, going to church and, you know, him hearing different sermons and the conversations that we're having, us jamming out in the car to certain music and, you know, gospel or whatever, like
Yeah.
hearing my son sing. Just, you know, oh man, it's been so great. I always make sure to carve out time to hang out with my guy in the midst of all of this grief. He's really brought me so much joy in all of this.
I love it.
And because being in the wait, okay, it got to a point, I meant to say this, it got to
Yeah,
a point
yeah.
where when the program that you and your husband, it's so funny to say your husband, because he's like my best
Mike.
friend.
Yes. My husband's name is Mike, so now you can say Mike.
Yeah, so you and Mike, you know, had that program for Prince, but when it was over and we couldn't sign him up, I'm like, look, Prince, when we go to the hospital and they ask you how old you are, tell them 13.
Yeah.
And so they were like, you know, and how old are you? And he'll look at me and he go, 13. I'm like, okay. But they didn't say anything. And so
what
he's
you
hanging
had to
out
do.
in the waiting room and he's on his tablet. But he would ask me, like, how's Mimi doing? But he would always check in with me, like, are you okay, Mom? Like, whenever I would just burst into tears, he would just come and sit with me and put his arm around me. And I found so much joy in him, like, I think the joy came from like, I have a compassionate child
Yeah.
who cares about how people feel.
Yeah.
And yeah, and also I went to see Beyonce. So I bought those tickets in like February. I bought those tickets 2 days before my mom went to the hospital.
Wow.
And that just kind of circles back to like, life is so unpredictable. You don't know what life is going to look like months from now. And
right.
But I was like, you know what? I was in North Carolina. I booked my flight from Charlotte to Los Angeles to go and just have 3 hours of enjoying
You time.
I went by myself. It was just me. I laughed, I sang, I cried, I boo-hooed a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, I just allowed myself to feel the things. But when I walked out, I just felt so, like, I was glad that I did that. I also went to a music festival called EDC. And I'm just now getting back from seeing Kendrick and SZA. So
Amazing.
I find things to, tap in with myself and, feel good about myself. Kind of reward myself. Like, caregiving is, man,
it's rough.
It's rough. Like, you have to do something to kind of pour back into yourself. So music and live shows are my thing.
I love it. I have found so much solace in GNX. And just Kendrick. Look, I got this fire burning in me from within, concentrated thoughts of who I used to be. I'm shedding skin like,
hey, yes, go ahead.
I don't know how to make friends. I'm a lonely soul. Like, all of it. I love him. Okay, so let me jump to this rapid fire question. Which was the better concert experience? Kendrick or Cowboy Carter?
Oh, Kendrick for sure.
Okay.
This time was my 6th time seeing Kendrick.
Nice.
I really enjoy Black art when people are very vulnerable and honest. And Kendrick has always had a very religious undertone to his music. And a lot of people don't know this. And so it may sound kind of weird, but like listening to GNX on the way to the hospital, or actually,
that's not weird.
Listening to GNX after visiting my mom, because I would leave the hospital after my mom would, fall asleep. And I'm walking out the hospital, taking the same path, going down the elevator. I'm just like, another.
It's such a lonely trek.
Oh my gosh, it is. And so I get in the car and I'm already upset that I have to pay for parking and all these, like, people don't know. Like, some places you have to pay for parking at the hospital. And I'm like, oh, it's all sucks.
Right.
And I'm like, you know what? Pop in GNX. And here we squabbling up on the way back home and just, just having a good time. It was, GNX just really, I didn't know that I needed that. It's almost celebratory. But I've also been listening to his Mr. Morale album where he talks about grief. Yeah. And I have not really been able to move past this album that came out in 2022. Like, I have a CD of this album in my car. So as soon as I turn the car on, I'm hearing him talk about grief. And it's not like I want to pretend like grief isn't happening in my world. I like to hear other people. I guess it makes sense for me producing the show. Yeah. Be very vulnerable and talk about what grief does to them or for them or anything like that. Yeah.
I love it. And the show was amazing. We went.
It was amazing.
When he came to Houston, it was amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing. I aspire to go to the Beyonce show. Hasn't been here yet. I aspire to go. We shall see. But I love that you were able to experience both. I love that. All right. Your go-to scripture or go-to song on hard days.
Listen, we're going to have to add this to the our playlist.
Yes. Shout out to Jeff Smith, our producer of music. We put together a playlist called Grieve and Heal. It's on Spotify, and we will be adding this song that Bethany is about to tell us about.
Oh, every time it would come on, I would just have to sit down and cry. I'm looking at my mom in ICU, bandaged up, tubed up, and back in 2023, I believe it was, I had a song had come across my playlist by Cleo Soul called Build Me Up. This isn't the song that I want to add to the playlist.
Okay,
but
that's good too.
it was very relevant to my mom because the song is about having an estranged relationship with your mother. And my mom and her mother didn't really have the best relationship. But I was like, you know what? I sent it to my mom and I was like, I think you would like this. Like Cleo Soul is R&B, but there's some gospel up in there. And I'm like, hold on, girl. Like,
for sure.
Having a moment. And so when I made the playlist of music for my mom, the healing playlist, I went to an album. By the way, my mom loved the song. She's now like a Cleo Soul fan. Yeah. And she said, you know, whenever, because she, I believe it's from London. I could be wrong, but she's not American. She was like, whenever she comes to America, I want to see her. My mom doesn't like going to concerts and stuff like that, but she wanted to see her. My mom followed her on Instagram. Like,
I love it.
She really was tapped in. And so we had a conversation about one of the projects that she had released after I introduced her to this artist. And she was just telling me how much she loved this album. And the song is called Things Will Get Better.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
It's just like a mantra in a way. Just repeating, things will get better. Things will get better. Trust in God. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it was just such a beautiful song. And I just found myself listening to that whenever I wanted to cry and feel the feels. And I'm seeing my mom slowly get better. And I'm like, no, things will get better because things are getting better.
I'm adding it right now because I love that song too. It's an amazing
It was
song.
another one called There Will Be No Crying by Cleo Soul. And I'm listening to it crying. But it's like, it's almost like crying was a synonym for like worrying.
Yeah. Because
so I didn't take it verbatim.
Because okay, my aunt, who I'm super close to, my Aunt Beth. Shout out to Aunt Beth because she listens to the show too. I think I might be the only podcast that she listens to and that she watches. But she told I was having a hard moment a couple days ago, and she was like, it's okay to let out some tears. Water is cleansing. I was like, yeah, absolutely.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Next question. If you could tie a weather pattern to your current emotional state, what would it be?
Weather pattern. Ooh. Feel like I'll compare it to when I used to live in Oklahoma City. You never knew what the weather was going to be. One day it could be so windy, it'll just like knock you off your feet. It'll blow the wig off your head.
Wow.
Or it's thunderstorms and it's hailing, or it's raining so hard. It's been raining for weeks and you're just like, when are things going to let up? I compare it to Oklahoma weather. Wow. Just like there may be a tornado that's going to come through and just unearth everything that you have going on. Like the tornado picked me up and like relocated me. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's what I would compare it to.
One image or symbol that sums up hope for you.
There's a picture of my mom and I when she's holding me as a baby. And I'm a newborn. It's December 1st, my birthday. And she's just holding me so tight and giving me a kiss. And it's so much love in the photo.
Yeah.
When I look at it, I'm like, whatever happens is going to be okay.
Yeah.
Even if she passes away, this woman gave me so much love. And I feel so privileged to be able to give that same love back to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. I love it. I love that. Thank you. And I have to see that picture. You have to share that
Yeah,
picture,
I will.
please.
I will share it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bikini Honey go-to swimsuit style that makes you feel the most empowered.
Give me the smallest red bikini. Like I just have more appreciation for the body.
Yeah.
And I don't think that we should be ashamed of our bodies. I feel like God gave us this beautiful shell. No, I just see so many people allow life to pass them by because they're so worried about what other people are going to think about their bodies.
We are made in his image.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, no, like I'm proud of what I look like, even if I'm in great shape or I've kind of let myself go a little bit. Like with all of this, I've gained a little bit of weight, you know what I mean? But I went to the pool, another, moment of, doing something that I enjoy, and putting on that swimsuit. I was like, okay, girl, you're a little softer here and there, but so what, girl?
Right.
What you've been through, man, who cares?
Right.
Like, wear the thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Biggest piece of advice for someone going through an unexpected caregiving journey.
Find your tribe, find someone who has been through something similar, because some of the things that you're feeling and experiencing may feel so unique to you, but there's so many people going through very similar things. Like, I remember thinking at one point, like, should I have relieved my mom? And of course everyone's like, no, you do whatever to keep your mom alive, but like you question yourself with all of these different steps.
Yeah.
It's okay to say the quiet part out loud that may make people uncomfortable. So find someone that you trust, that you feel like is a safe space to say these things that you may feel a bit jarring. Like, I remember seeing my mom at one point. She had a procedure done. I came in and her eyes were open and she looked like she was so uncomfortable and in pain. And I just did I do the right thing? But in talking to my mom's tribe, they were like, no, I think you're doing right by her. You're doing the best that you can with the information that you're given. And
Absolutely.
People pouring into me and giving me this advice that was like, okay, no, you're doing good. You're doing okay. But find your people that you can say the thing that may make you a bit uncomfortable. I can't believe I just said that.
Yeah, because you got to
But
get it
people
out. It's got to go
experience that.
somewhere. Yeah.
It has to go somewhere. Yeah.
All right, last two questions. You know what they are. What has grief taken from you, and what has grief given you?
Grief has taken, it's kind of a positive.
Yeah.
It's made me make boundaries. I've had to cut a lot of things and people and jobs, gigs, whatever, out of my life to make myself feel lighter. So it really removed some things that I probably would not have done on my own had this not happened.
Yeah.
I have a to-do list, a whiteboard, and I remember I wrote out everything that I had on my plate. This is back in January, and I had 13 things. I'm I'm one person. How am I juggling all of this? And I'm I have to figure out what to get rid of, and I never got around to it. And then my mom goes into the hospital, and everything was wiped off.
God
gone.
said, let me help you out with that.
Yep. And now you can figure out what's a priority to you.
That's good.
Grief in the Raw was on that list. And that was one thing I was like, no, we're gonna resume this at some point. We're coming back.
My sister.
And what grief gave me, and I want to give a shout out to my brother Brandon.
Shout out to Brandon.
It's given us a better relationship. My brother is my friend. We'll be on the phone for hours, or we're sitting in ICU with mom in bed, and we're just having these deep conversations about childhood and about life. I recorded a conversation with my mom on my computer one time when we were on the phone, and I played it for my brother, and just seeing him like get more understanding of mom as a woman, not just as a mother, but like she was just talking about, you know, when she had kids and what life was looking like, and it was such a beautiful story that she's telling, and we're like kind of laughing along because she's, you know, her sense of humor was so great. But I was like, I enjoy hanging out with my brother. I love being around my brother, and I love that, you know, we've kind of like reconnected.
I love that. And I know that you all being around each other and drinking up each other's energy in her presence, that's helping her heal, to hear her children, to be in the environment where you all are. And those are my kids, and they're here, and they're happy, joyful. That environment matters. I'm so proud of y'all.
Thank you.
Well, y'all, this has been a pleasure. Bethany was dropping some gems. I hope you caught them. If you didn't catch them, catch the replay, okay? Bethany, I am praying for you daily.
Thank you.
And I'm asking for everyone that is watching or hearing this, from wherever you are, add Bethany's mom and Bethany to your prayer list, please.
Thank you.
We are trusting and believing, mind, body, soul. She is going to come out of this whole.
Let me tell you something, just to give you guys, you know, some good news. My mom was discharged after 12 weeks of being in the hospital. She is now she's receiving rehab, extensive rehab, to, you know, help with speech, to help with, you know, her physical abilities. And she's on a path to healing. When you say, you know, being specific in prayer.
Yeah.
With the doctors telling me like, oh, she's probably not going to, you know, have much memory, or, you know, she just may be a shell of herself. My prayer was that she gets a chance to experience emotion again, to be able to create memories. She may not be able to remember everything from her past, but I want her to be able to experience joy and happiness and even anger or whatever. I want her to be able to experience those. So the last time I went to hang out with her, I made her laugh, Kelli. I made her laugh. And it wasn't an audible laugh, but it was like a chuckle. You know, when you chuckle, kind of, you know, you're, yeah. And I was like, are you laughing at me? And she just kind of had this smile on her face. And I'm like, my mom is experiencing emotion again. This is specifically what I prayed for. This is exactly what I prayed for.
God is good.
Yeah.
God is good.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. That blessed me. I knew I wasn't going to get through this without tears. And there are no tissues on this desk. I don't know why I did that to myself.
I wish I could help you out, girl. I got them on deck. You hear me?
This has been such a good conversation. Thank you. Thank you so much for all
thank you,
the
Kelli.
light you give.
Thank you for allowing me and to be a part of this and trusting me and even coming to me with this whole idea, because, man, grief is such it's a part of the human experience that we're going to all feel it at some point. And very important work that you're doing here. And I thank you.
Thank you. I love you.
I love
so
you too.
much. So much. Thank you, God. Thank you, God, for this platform. Thank you, God, for my sister Bethany. Thank you.
Gratitude.
Y'all, take what you need, leave what you don't, share it with someone you feel needs it the most. This has been Kelli Holloway, Bethany Anderson, my sister, and this has been Grief in the Raw. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's keep the conversation going. Find us on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, where you listen to your podcast. Peace and love. Peace and love. Mwah. Thank you for joining me inside today's episode of Grief in the Raw. I hope that something we've shared today both affirms how you feel and also provides you with healing towards your journey. Let's keep the conversation going. Visit kellyandco.com for more information about the show. Also, make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube, Instagram, and follow the show on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Special thanks to Bethany Anderson, who is the producer of this podcast, and also Jeffrey Smith, who has been the composer for the music. Thank you so much again from the bottom of my heart. Peace and light always. Much love.